Now, going over to the political part of the podcast, you have Disney CEO responding to Ron DeSantis claiming they're not sexualizing kids. Hilariously ironic that Disney created the Pinocchio film where the nose gets bigger and bigger and bigger. There's a good metaphor right there if you look for it. It's not too thinly veiled. Now, Bob Iger was one of the most successful CEOs of Disney. He ruled, I believe, for about 15 years prior to Bob Chapek. And it's because of Bob Iger they actually acquired Lucasfilms, which, physically speaking, was a big success for the company before they shot themselves in the foot with films like Solo, which subsequently tanked and just crashed and burned. And I believe Bob Chapek was also responsible for the acquisition of Marvel. So in terms of his 15-year tenure prior to Bob Chapek, Bob Iger, he was a very successful CEO. I need to read his, I believe, his autobiography. There's a book on Amazon and I've been meaning to purchase one of these days. And he set up the company for success. Now, Bob Chapek came in and kind of messed everything up. So that's subsequently why they're bringing Bob Iger back recently. Now, Iger defended Disney's legacy of entertaining generations of viewers and claims that he was criticized by Ron DeSantis' attack on the company prior year, which began with the company's opposition of a bill restricting discussions of sexual orientation and gender identity in Florida classrooms. Which again, why do those discussions need to be taking place? Does someone in second grade need to have gender identity pushed upon them? Do they need to have their teachers indoctrinating them? No. The correct answer is no. There's no reason for teachers to discuss sex at that age. None. I actually think it might be better, more appropriate just to have it at home. Do you really want the government teaching your kids all these things? But I digress. Now, Disney's CEO also claimed that they are going to have a full-throated endorsements of Disney ongoing lawsuits against the Florida governor, in which the California-based company accuses Ron DeSantis of weaponizing his political power. Which is one of those things where if they just shut up and they didn't talk politics, they would still have the most privilege you could possibly have as a company in Florida. They had a carve out, so they basically have their own separate district and county, so they regulate themselves. If they just shut up, they would still have all these great freedoms. As soon as they went against the state of Florida, that's when Florida started to think, why are we giving you billions upon billions of dollars in advantageous tax breaks, as well as little to no oversight on your actual regulation of your entity? And why are we giving you all that when you're spitting in our face? Politically speaking, that makes no sense. And that is certainly a business blunder of Disney. Which again, why do they want your kids talking about that stuff? That is unusual. And it's also one of those things where Bob Iger claimed he wanted to get out of politics, which is why the shareholders were not only just his prior track record of being a successful CEO. When he came back, he said they want to get out of politics. The shareholders like that. Everyone liked that. The consumers like that too. People in the middle don't want to have sexual themes in children's materials. No reason to have it there. There's a time and place for everything. Now, when asked for comment, you have Disney CEO Bob Iger saying, quote, "The last thing that I want for a company is for the company to be drawn into any culture wars. It's concerning to me that anyone would encourage the level of intolerance or hate that has frankly become dangerous action." Now, intolerance of what is one of my questions. They claim that they don't sexualize kids with Disney, but that's, again, a Pinocchio lie. They actually have a memo and a meeting leaked from Disney where someone inside Disney proudly said they had a gay agenda. A conspiracy theorist had a heyday with that because, again, it turned out to be another conspiracy theory that was actually right. You also see in their films, they have lesbian kiss and a Buzz Lightyear, which viscerally from a consumer perspective and a moral perspective, I thought, well, that's interesting. You took that out for Saudi Arabia. So you're proud to make money off the movie and censor yourself in Saudi Arabia, but in the United States, you said it was a moral high ground to put the kiss back in. They also rumored that they actually put it in to spite Ron DeSantis. That movie, of course, crashed and burned. Same with Elemental, which Disney also owns Pixar. That had I believe, non-binary main character. That crashed and burned. The Flash, who the star of the movie has many legal, what's a nice way of saying they've messed up multiple times and hit women? It's probably a nicer way of saying that. Although if you hit women, you're POS. I don't care what you think or what I call you. But they hired Ezra, whatever his name was, who subsequently changed the person's self-identity. Got in trouble with the police, changed their identity, sexual or pronouns, and then Disney hired this person because it seemed trendy. Yeah, that movie also crashed and burned. Are we seeing a theme here? Their movies are, and then Indiana Jones, another movie, crashed and burned. They're bleeding money because they're injecting things that aren't organic to these stories. But getting back to the actual nuts and bolts of this, now the CEO of, at the time, Bob Chapek, publicly criticized the Florida bill, pejoratively called "Don't Say Gay" bill. It had nothing to do with sexual orientation. The bill simply said you can't discuss sexual topics or themes at children. I believe it was up to third grade, which I think I'm more maybe politically in the middle, but I wonder why would people want them to have the privilege, these teachers, to talk to kids about that? Then I see the teachers on the TikTok and I think, oh dear God, these teachers need medication or help. Now, Bob Chapek publicly criticized the bill, which led to DeSantis taking action against the company. So Bob Chapek was the CEO previous to Bob Iger. He is the one who made a lot of mistakes, this being one of them. Now, after that, Disney had previously enjoyed decades of special tax privileges to the state. Ron DeSantis, Florida governor, revoked the company's ability to essentially self-govern the land in Disney, which operates, of course, in Florida. Now, I was right. This bill specifically, quote, refuses to allow school boards and teachers unions the ability to hide information about students from their parents. In addition, it prohibits classroom discussion in grades kindergarten through third grade on gender orientation and sexual identity. Who would be against that bill? Why does a kindergartner need to know anything about sex? There used to be something that is known as child innocence. Now, Disney also has bearded biological men in dresses, selling dresses to young girls, and I think they apply makeup as well at one of their Disney stores. And they have that to this day. They didn't change that. So I know a lot of people who are politically alienated or more in the middle who they won't go to Disneyland again, partially because they're concerned about many of the things I just spoke about. And yet, it is hilarious to see if, again, Bob Iger, all he had to do when he came back from their concerns in terms of this political issue, all he had to do was say, hey, I don't agree with Bob Chapek. That was egg on our face. We are a entertainment company. We want to make entertainment products for kids of all ages. We want everyone to enjoy the experience. That is the magic of Disney. Some political pontifical statement like that, and say, by the way, we respect Florida's laws. We don't believe in sexual. You don't even have to go as far as to say we don't want kids to be brainwashed, or we don't want kids in second grade being taught about sex. All they had to do is say, hey, previous CEO, he made a mistake. We respect Florida's laws. That's two sentences. That little tweet probably would have had Florida back off on some of these tax or some of these privileges they're taking away from the company. As a shareholder, I would be irate if I actually owned stock in that company. If Bob Iger isn't going to right this ship, and I don't know if he can. They, of course, have more money than we can possibly fathom. They have cash reserves, and they have more intellectual property than we can possibly fathom as well. But again, I think there's a lot of money to be made. Just make entertainment products for everyone. There's a niche for different things, but something like Disney, where you have such a big swath of intellectual property materials, from their business perspective, I would argue the most money they can make is by addressing the middle audience. Address the whole country, not just a subsegment. Because otherwise, again, you're Disney, you're alienating a fair amount of the U.S. population. So I don't know what they're going to do, and politically speaking, this seems to be the political blunder of the day. Maybe that could be a theme, but again, Bob is not making the situation better by continuing to spar with a Florida politician where people in Florida elected him in spades. He went from, the first time he was elected, Ron DeSantis, he won by less than 1%. I believe it was only like 33,000 votes. The second time for his re-election, he won by about 19%. That type of increase in political, the delta between you and your opponent, or the delta between your last results to your current results, is unprecedented. People in Florida like that politician. So it seems to be a political blunder of the day, but we'll see if Disney's able to right that ship. Time shall tell. Now, I want to especially thank everyone for taking the time to tune in today. We're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers by the end of July, so if you could click that button, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, don't forget to like and comment. The feedback is greatly appreciated as we made the show better and better. Also, don't forget to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.